Now, we haven't really said an awful lot about winter barleys and the way they've tended to behave through these dry conditions. I don't know whether you can pick that up again, the amount of dead leaf there. And again, a little bit like wheat, normally those leaves would have rotted away and wouldn't be as apparent as that. Fairly good rooting, still quite dry down there, although up here on the high Wolds we did have that rain on Monday. Apart from that, the other thing to say about barleys, this is a variety called Cassata. Reasonable head numbers. This is just one plant, and you can see there what have we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decent tillers there. Unlike wheat, barley derives yields from the whole plant, so it's quite important to keep the plant in general clean, as opposed to what we consider of wheat, and that the flag leaf contributes a high percentage of yield, and leaf 2 and 3 less so, but keep those leaves clean, etc. And the glooms on wheat as well. But with barley you need the whole plant to work towards yield. Disease is apparent on these plants, practically zero. Probably the worst disease in barley would be Rhynchosporium, and during a wet time, of course, you get these turquoisey light green watermark type lesions in the leaf, which can defoliate. The other thing about Rhyncho to bear in mind, that if you take a leaf axial, let me just throw that plant away and just show you this one, down in that leaf axial right close to the stem, as the spores of Rhynchosporium are washed down that leaf and water collects in that area, obviously there's a higher degree of spores, and what tends to happen is you get a really bad Rhynchosporium lesion right at that point. That can rot the leaf, and then that leaf tends to fall off. So that's one wet driven disease. The other one would be net blotch. We haven't had the rain, no net blotch. You'd think in these dry conditions, depending on variety and resistance to these diseases, you would think maybe that brown rust may develop, but there's certainly no sign of that yet. Just another thing that I'm seeing quite a lot of, and I'm pretty sure you won't pick this up on camera, but as these seeds develop on some of the lower ground, this is obviously a little bit later than lower ground barley, a lot of these grain sites have actually been aborted. So if you hold the ear up to the light, you see those seeds which are beginning to fill to some extent, and those that are completely transparent, and that's not necessarily a good sign. There's a little bit of what I call rat tailing there, so some of the sites on top of the ear haven't developed. This can often be something like copper deficiency maybe, or the plant has just aborted those sites to support the rest of them during that dry time. Don't underestimate what these things give you, and that is they will contribute towards yield as well, the awns, and so they need to be kept clean. But in general, having gone through what they've gone through, the strange thing is as well, or the amazing thing is, on these soils, there's a lot of barleys down on the lower ground, winter barleys, that are, as wheat is, extremely short. This seems to have a bit of length about it, and of course where you've got a livestock implication, the straw is quite valuable, not only in monetary terms if you're selling it off the farm, but to the livestock enterprise, which then converts it into something that's worthwhile putting back onto the land, or just chopping and putting back in and gaining what phosphate, potash levels you can re-employ, if you like, for the next crop. So that's winter barley. That's not a bad looking plant.